to do a quick overview of the format, and then we're going to get started. My name is Sam Young. I am the elections manager for MSU Denver. Today we've got our town hall for the 2025-2026 Student Council. I'm joined today by current student trustee Mike Warner. Say hi, Mike.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all here today. I'm excited. I'm excited, Sam.
All right, and so our format today, your first question is going to be about your platform and kind of general points about you. So I'm going to want to have everybody to answer that one. So we're just going to pass the mic straight down. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer that. But for every other question, you're going to get 30 seconds to answer. And Mike and I will be in control of timekeeping. For that first question, like I said, we want everyone to answer. But for subsequent questions, please just raise your hand if you'd like to answer, and we'll pass the mic in your direction. That should be everything. Am I forgetting anything, Mike?
No, let's have fun. Let's have some fun today.
All right, let's do it. So for our first question, who are you and why are you running for student government? Including this, what do you feel makes you qualified to be a counselor? Like I said, we'd like every candidate to answer this question, please, and we'll start right here and move it on. Please make sure to mention your name and what positions you are running for.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Rathbun. He, him, they, them pronouns. I am an alumni and returning student to MSU Denver in the Master's Social Work program. I am looking, through my program, I'm looking to do policy and legislative advocacy, so student government is an excellent position for me to utilize some of these practical skills I'm learning in the classroom. But through my time at MSU, I've ran Gender and Sexualities Alliance, my undergrad. I've advocated for students in the HOPES program in the Student Care Center as a peer mentor, helping students on government assistance programs. And this will actually be my third year running for student government. This year, I plan on working with justice-impacted students, so those who have been in the criminal justice system as a respondent or a victim, advocating with their Title IX organization, student fee transparency, and food access.
Thank you, Mac.
Hello, my name is Susana Villa Gomez. I am rerunning again as a council member. Last year was my first time running as a council member. I think what I could bring as a council member and why am I qualified as a counselor is because during my time for 24 to 25, I have learned a lot how to work with other people and how to bring more students to engage with us as the student government, because I feel like that was a huge part that we were lacking in. Last semester, we did about like 8-ish total events. I feel like that helped us a lot to like bring more students involved, and that is all I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you.
Move on to Scott.
Hi, I am Sky Childress. I am a junior here at MSU Denver studying gender, women, and sexuality studies. I'm running for student government because I feel like I'm in a position to advocate for students. I feel I don't necessarily have any specific qualifications to be a counselor, but I feel like that's exactly what you would want. You just want a student who understands what it's like to be a student, understand what students specifically need from administration, from the university as a whole, and someone that could advocate for what all students would need.
Thank you, Scott. Patrick, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Patrick Severo. I'm a business management major here at MSU in my junior year. This will be my second year going into as a student government, except this year I'll be running as student trustee. A good reason why I feel like I'm qualified to be running for this position is one that I've learned from my mistakes. I've made, to be honest, I've made plenty this election. During this year, and I'm looking to not only like remediate those mistakes, but be able to capitalize on the points that I've made, all the goals that I've wanted to achieve this year, and all the ones that I want to continue striving for. A lot of my thing is just promoting for MSU, trying to see how I can be a better student and leader, and be able to hear everyone's opinions, listen and embody, because that's what's really important here, because it's much more than just me, but it's for everybody else. And I feel like being someone who's driven, someone who is has a great attitude and loves everybody.
That's time.
Hello, my name is Steffi Calero, she, her pronouns. I'm currently a junior majoring in bio and psychology. I am, why am I running? This is something that I've had thought about, and this is something out of my comfort zone, but I am excited for this new opportunity. I have from personal experience, I would love to bring more input, more perspective from personal experience. As an immigrant, as a first generation student at MSU Denver, as a Hispanic service institution, I have a passion. I want for people to feel heard and seen, and I would love to represent the undocumented and DACA population here at MSU. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Urvi Pal. I'm a second year student majoring in business intelligence here. I use pronoun she, her. I was born and raised in New Delhi, India, and I'm also a resident of Colorado. I'm running for student government because I want to create more opportunities, more support, more resources for our students. MSU is a wonderful school, and I feel like the support I've received from it, I would always appreciate it. And I want to create the same sense of belongingness and support for our students here at campus because or for our newly enrolled and the current student. As a counselors, I'm always ready to listen and help them in any way possible I can. I want to be that person who comes up with fresh ideas, bring new incentives, work hard, and make people and feel this campus that they have sense of belongingness and a better place for everyone. After all, nothing is beyond the reach for our students and their bright futures. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rowan East. I use they, them, and theirs pronouns. I am a junior majoring in gender, women, and sexuality studies. And I'm running for student government because I want to take the things that I've learned as a GWS major and apply them within the student government to keep this campus a safe place for everybody. I really love going to school here, and I just want to be an advocate for student supports in the face of the current political climate that we're seeing right now. And I'm also running for SACAB because I think that would be a perfect place to implement the lessons that I've learned as a GWS major.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is William Coates, and I'm a student veteran, Latino student veteran here at MSU Denver. I'm a junior, and I have been on the council about 2 years now. A lot of things that I would like to continue to do is represent the veteran voice on the council, since there's no veterans running this year, and make sure that veterans are represented in advocacy efforts by TSAC. That being said, though, the last 2 years I've also had to learn to adapt to different student groups across campus and try to meet their needs as well. And I believe that is what also makes me qualified, is just being able to adapt to the different needs of the different student groups across campus. With that, after 2 years of being on TSAC, I know the different structures and even the Constitution pretty well.
All right. Thank you guys, everybody, for your excellent introductions. We're going to jump straight into questions. And I think what we're going to do is 30 seconds each. We're going to go straight down the line. And I'll start with this question. They can raise their hand if they want. Oh, they can raise their hand. I see. He's the one in charge, not me. So what have you learned from students during your time campaigning? And for some of you who've already worked in student government, what are you learning from students? So let's start with Sky.
What I'm hearing the most is that students are scared. I think that on the forefront of students' minds right now is the political climate we live in. Some of the federal administration changes. You hear the Department of Education's possibly getting eliminated. That's where my FAFSA comes from. That's where everyone gets their student loans and people get their grants from. And so I think that a lot of us, especially as students, we survive off being students. We either have student employment, we pay our rent for that. That's how we survive. And I think that people are scared.
Patrick?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, kind of similar to what Sky said, I feel like a lot of students feel like a little bit intimidated with all the changes that are going around here. But mainly more than that, and I feel like this has been an issue throughout every year, it's just that the lack of not be able to know of TSAC or be able to know or be aware of the resources that we provide. I think a lot of individuals feel like we could do more, and I feel like we are doing as much as we can, but I feel like there are always more things to do.
Thank you, Patrick. Would anyone else like to answer that question?
During my time campaigning for TSAC, I've learned that at least in the DACA and undocumented community, they are very closed off or just afraid to put themselves in this position. So I have, even myself, I didn't know I was eligible, or even I didn't know it was open for me. So I was very happy to just share and spread the word of TSAC to everybody.
Anyone else like to answer this question?
While campaigning, I learned that it's like they said, it seems like a lot of people don't know all of the resources that are available to them, and also haven't really interacted with student government, if at all, in the past. And as an organizer, I know that change comes from the ground up. So I think that it's really important that, as a student government person, to outreach to the community so that we can represent what they want.
All right. Would anyone else like to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right. I think we'll move on to the next question. That's all right. How will you make sure you are representing the student body and its needs and concerns? Who'd like to start off that question? Patrick?
One of my ongoing things right now, to see about more of the student body and like representing the needs and the concerns, is by finding out what are those needs and what are those concerns. One of my biggest strategies right now that I'm trying to develop is to be able to get all the clubs and organizations together to have the opportunity to discuss urgent needs or concerns that we have. That those are student leaders among our university who are open to speaking about things, who are already involved. So it's a direct way so as to communicate and to figure out what we need to do.
Thank you, Patrick. Would anyone else like to answer that question? Matthew?
One sec. All right, I'm good. So kind of to tack on, it's more from my experience being in student government the last 2 years, but I would agree with kind of Patrick's statements of opening up some of the avenues to some of these student voices. And one thing we've been working on this year, and I would love to continue, is some more of our background, like policies and procedures, to actually build up the foundation for ideas like Patrick's and creating an avenue for student orgs to have a voice, and also for other students to have an avenue for a voice.
Thank you, Matthew. Sky?
Yeah, I think that listening is going to be an important bit here, but you can't listen to someone who you don't interact with. And I think we live in a digital age. So I think that getting more interactions through our social media, getting more interactions with students personally, and possibly surveys, and that kind of sounds useless sometimes, but I think that getting more interactions with students, understanding what they need, is the best way to actually meet those needs and concerns.
Thank you, Sky. Will, did you?
Like everyone said so far, just listening is the first step, and then also getting out there and interacting with the different student groups on campus. But I wanted to add an extra step, and that was looking at yourself and potentially any misunderstandings that you might have on a student group or a different point of view, and try to learn more. That way you are adapting to their needs and not just being closed-minded to the different student group needs.
Thank you, Will. Anyone else like to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right, I think we'll move on to the next one. This question is kind of two parts here, but for new counselors, what fresh takes and perspectives will you bring to the council? And then for returning counselors, what can you take from your previous experience to expand upon your time and abilities this year? So those are the questions. Who would like to start? Will.
So one of the most important things as a returning counselor for me was realizing that as TSAC is a new organization, as a new student government on this campus, it's relatively new, 4 years about, give or take. Didn't have the strongest base per se to branch out and do advocacy. After this 1 year, we were able to do that.
Thank you, Will.
I would say, as a new counselor in TSAC, I will bring a mixture of both leadership and technical background, being involved in groups like Girls Who Code and AI programs, and being as a major of business intelligence. I will bring to the table more technical and leadership style, because I think I would arrange more hackathons, coding programs, workshops, and for leadership, I'm involved for ULP, Urban Leadership Program, and serving as advocacy delegate.
Thank you so much. Who's next, Patrick?
Yeah, so this year, I was a budget chair and PR co-chair, so I had a lot of hands-on experience. I had a lot of people that helped me out through it. So this year, going through the meetings that I've been in and the committees that I've been on, just like being the student advisory board for the vice president, it's given me a lot of a window to like how the university operates. It's given me a lot how the TSAC operates. It's given me a lot how the student body could learn from it, and how I can implement that is through just doing more about it.
30 seconds is quick. Susie.
Hi. As a returning council member, I feel like leadership grows and continues along the way. It's not something that like we just implement on the first day that we step into. That is something I heavily need to learn on. And by taking time on each project that I do, I want to ensure that everything is reassured and everything as possible is represented. And as as PR, we did heavily try to like communicate with students and how to expand with other students.
Thank you, Susie. We'll do Matthew next.
Yeah, so this is my third time running for student government, and as Will also referenced, TSAC is a newer organization, but it also has a unique structure. Being a more flattened leadership structure, we don't have president, vice president set up like most other student governments. So it's another challenge to how we build up, how we run and organize everything. So I want to spend a good chunk of my time this next year focusing again on those policies and procedures to help us run more effectively.
Appreciated. Sai, thank you for joining us. We're going to finish this question. I'll let you do a quick introduction, all right? So who else? Stephanie, did you have your hand up? Yes.
As a new counselor, some fresh perspective I would bring as a pre-med and currently juggling prereqs and extracurricular activities. I would like to bring more resources for internships, research available for students who are currently following that path that may or may not be aware what MSU has available for them.
All right, thank you. We'll do Sky.
Yeah, fresh takes and perspectives. I think I will bring those to the council, definitely. I'm a gender, women, sexuality studies student, and one of the things we learn is we critical study of like oppression, and we learn how the intersections of different identities affect people today, especially with the different state government, federal government, university policy, how those things intersect. I think that advocating on behalf of students with those fresh takes will be important.
Thank you.
So, as a new counselor, and as somebody who's been involved in community organizing, I'm used to working with lots of different people and just trying to understand that like everybody is coming from a different place and has their own strengths and their own things that they're not as good at, and knowing how to work with just a lot of different folks. And my ability to network and listen is also something that I would bring to this council, just to understand that I would be there as a public servant and that I'm there to do what people want me to do, not just what I want.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to answer this question before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right. Real quickly, Sai has entered the room, so I'm going to give you a minute to answer the first question that all the counselors did. So that's who are you? Why are you running for student government? And what makes you qualified to be a counselor on this campus? So, Sai, you got a minute. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cyrus Holt. I'm a sophomore here at MSU Denver. I'm a political science and Africana studies major. Second part of that question, why am I running? I'm running for student government to, be in a leadership role, to advocate for students on campus, specifically for the students of color, the male identified students of color. And I think that's a good segue into why I'm qualified for this position. I am very deeply involved in campus life. I live on campus. I work for the Brother to Brother program under Center for Multicultural Engagement and Inclusion. I also work in the Africana Studies Department. And I am a proven leader, both in that position and in my Africana Studies Department one. And I work, very well with collaboration. And I think that's another reason why I'm running for the SACAB representative, because I want to really get collaboration down on this campus.
Thank you, Sai. We're going to move on to the next question. So, how will you promote cooperation and coordination within next year's council? And then let me know who wants to start. Matthew.
You're in front of the camera. All right, I'm good. So again, as a returning council member, I've seen a lot of different trials and tribulations over the last couple years. But again, I want to work on kind of team and group cohesion within the council through our accountability committee that was spearheaded. Its creation was spearheaded by Reeve Farco last year. And I want to expand it and actually make our policies and stuff on how we utilize that kind of restorative practices within that committee.
Thank you, Matthew. Sky.
Yeah, I think cooperation and coordination starts with communication. I think that we as council will need to communicate together if we are going to cooperate to achieve our goal of best advocating for the students.
Thank you, Sky.
Yeah, I agree with Matthew and Sky because I think it is very important to have a healthy environment where one can share their ideas, their thoughts, what they are being supported and being heard for. And by working together effectively as a team, we can promote a sense strong of belongingness and a cooperation and coordination within the council.
Move on.
Yeah, communication, very important. I guess I understand from a lot of personal experience what it's like to be talked over. It's not something that I ever want anybody else to feel. So as a counselor, it would be really important to me to create an environment where everybody feels safe enough to bring forward their opinions, the things that are impacting them, and to feel that they're going to be given a fair shake, that they'll be heard out, and I'll do everything I can to understand where they're coming from.
Sai.
Yeah, so you look across this line, everyone looks different. We all probably have different backgrounds and probably have different opinions. So I'm gonna add another C to the cooperation, coordination, communication, and compromise. I think if we can work together, we can communicate, we can coordinate, and we can collaborate, we can reach compromises that really, fit everyone's sort of background and where they want to go.
Thank you, Sai. Would anyone else like to answer this question? Susan.
I feel like with this question, I think for a healthy council, we also have to have some disagreements because, as what Sai mentioned, we all have different opinions and we all have different thoughts. But our main goals as like future running council members, I think my main goal and hopefully for all of y'all is to represent what is best for the student body at our campus. So I feel like having healthy disagreements is not bad and it helps us to improve as a council.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right. Let us move on. So the next question I'm asking you guys is how you promote cooperation and coordination between the council and then the school's administration. So similar question, but a little different. Different. So Sky, let's start first.
Both the council and the administration have very similar missions. The stated goal of both is at the bottom line, advocating for students. Administration views the students as their North Star to guide them for policymaking and for deciding how things happen here. I think that we have similar goals, and if we communicate effectively, that will foster cooperation and coordination.
Thank you, Sky. Patrick?
So I will establish regular meetings. So as trustee, I will be in regular meetings and being on the committees that I'm serving as right now. Hopefully next semester or next year, I will continue having those meetings with university administration to ensure open and transparent communication. You know, I'm going to advocate for student perspectives. That's why I'm there. I'm the student voice, and that's what we're trying to do, is trying to see for everybody, not just for me, not just for one specific community, but for all students, as we also report that. I'll ensure council is well informed about university policies and provide a good feedback and build strong relationships with everybody.
Thank you, Patrick. Would anyone else care to answer this?
So, as a SACAP representative, I would really look forward to representing what the students say that they want to see from the administrations of our schools, because I'm used to working with some incredible people that I often agree with and some incredible people that I don't always agree with. But at the end of the day, we're all here to support the students and to make this campus a great place for everybody. So I really look forward to that.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you, guys. The next question I'm going to ask you guys is how you support inclusivity and diversity on campus. Irvi, floor is yours.
I would say, being from the diverse background myself, I understand how important it is to support students through inclusivity and diversity on campus. It's crucial to bring and celebrate every festival on a bigger platform so that students can feel a belongingness, they can feel included and valued here on campus.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, similar here. My family is also from another country, and just like a lot of people here, we share a different background. But I will advocate for policies and initiatives that promote equity and access for all students, regardless of their background. I'll create a welcoming and inclusive campus environment where all students feel valued and respected. I will support programs and initiatives to celebrate diversity and promote cross-cultural understanding. I will also be the voice for those like my family and myself who need this further support and community.
Thank you, Patrick. William?
Something that's sometimes overlooked in trying to promote diversity on campus is not just being willing to adapt to different student needs and different backgrounds and trying to walk a few miles in their shoes, but also taking a step back and making sure they have a voice on this campus and not speaking for different groups on campus.
Yeah, to sort of touch on what Will was saying, I think to support diversity and inclusion, you know, you're not being the voice for those people. You're letting the certain people who you want to represent, to include, to, you know, diversify. You want them to use their voice. So I think my support of that would be allowing members of certain communities to come through, you know, and share their thoughts instead of being the one who's sharing those thoughts for them. giving them a sort of platform, so to speak.
Thank you, Will and Sai. Anyone else care to answer this question? Susanna?
I do have to agree with them because as a first generation student and as a Latina woman, I feel like it's important to work with the organization that we already have here on campus because some of those organizations, they feel like that they don't have that support that's needed, and starting with them in our campus will extremely help us to support inclusivity and diversity.
Thank you, Susie. Matt, did you have your hand up?
So this question actually encompasses why I chose MSU as a school to go to, is the diversity and inclusion. And kind of the easiest first step for me is listening to the fellow council members who are running, because last couple years it has been a very diverse group, and that's the easiest place to start, but always making sure that you listen to other student voices, and even if I can't help them directly through student government, I want to empower them to be a change maker like our school suggests.
Thank you, Matt. Sky?
Yeah, you almost always hear diversity and inclusivity right next to equity. I think it's one of the most important parts of it. I think that to foster equity, inclusivity, and diversity, you need to really think about the problems that smaller socioeconomic groups may be dealing with. Because they face different problems, and maybe it's a niche problem. You need to advocate for those problems, not just the problems that everyone's facing.
Thank you, Sky. Rowan?
I think that it would be really important to try to encourage collaboration between student government, SACAB, and local immigrant and undocumented, and also trans rights organizations. And we should be learning from people that have been in this fight for a really long time as students and as community members, and also not talking over people. Like if somebody is impacted by this issue, then they should feel safe enough to come to the student government meetings, make that known, and know that we will fight for them with everything that we've got.
Rowan? Anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right, y'all, thank you for your responses. The next question I have is, how can student government expand campus outreach and visibility? Review, start with you.
I would say that the students cannot read long emails or cannot go through websites. So let's be creative. We can go for social media accounts, like posting reels, what we do, how we run as a student government, and what are the initiatives or programs we are working on. Thank you.
We'll do Patrick, then Will.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think creativity is a key thing that we have to hit upon this. You know, be able to find more ways to interact with the student body rather than just regular table events that a lot of our organizations do. But how can we stand above that? How can we improve that? How can we emphasize the resources and the information that we provide, and, you know, just being able to not wait for the student body to come to us, but go to the student body itself. Be more mobile, be more creative, and be more willing to listen.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll go to Will next, because you had your hand up.
Well, we do have a bunch of different offices across campus, right? We have the LGBTQ plus Resource Center, we have GITA, we have the Veterans Resource Center, we have the Phoenix Center. I would say just start at these different centers and talk to people, have conversations with the students at each center and see, you know, try to expand your purview as a future counselor and advocate for those different student groups.
Thank you, Will. Anyone else care to answer this question? Sky.
Yeah, I think that student government can't truly advocate for students unless the students know about them and are actively engaging with them. I think that in our outreach and visibility, we will need to be doing outreach, not just to be like, hi, we're student government. We're doing outreach because this is what we're working on. We want your feedback on it. We're working on this initiative. We're working on expanding Rowdy's Corner. We're working on this. What do you care to say about it? I feel like that's a better way to do outreach than, hey, we're student government.
Yeah. Sky, Steffi, you had your...
Thank you. Yeah, I think other than being creative and doing PR and just putting everything that we're doing like in social media. I think another thing would be making us as counselors being available and just really putting the word out there about student government, because I don't think many departments, clubs are aware of student government altogether.
Thank you. Does anyone else care? Susanna, then Matt.
I think listening to all of you guys, I think that is very true and valid because has the only chair I run is PR with Patrick. I've learned heavily when I walked into this. This didn't really have a structure or a foundation of how to really run those PR. And currently, I am working with my co and how we could do that and how we could prep the next council members to be ready for the next academic year. That we could let new students know like who we are instead of like walking them in and having nothing in.
So I only have a small bit to add because everything already stated is excellent. So this is just a little add-on, is also just making sure that our student government office is more accessible and welcoming, because we do have shelving for student orgs to put their stuff. We have free school supplies, computers, printing. So just building it up, making it even more welcoming space for students to come to us and talk, as well as us going out and trying to talk to them.
Thank you, Matthew. Does anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. A little bit longer questions, bear with me. Given the current national political landscape, there is significant worry about MSU Denver students concerning legal status, deportations, and other issues. How have you or will you use student government to approach this issue of immigration status and deportations? Patrick.
Just by simply just continuing what we're doing right now. I think this semester, especially with the help of Sky and a lot of our counselors and the ad hoc committee that me, Susana, Amelia, and Victor are part of for the Latino community, is just working with what we have here at MSU. MSU has ISP program, which is Immigrant Services, and they're already been doing a lot of work ahead of time. Just accepting more the reforms that we have, the referendum that's on the vote. Anyone vote for the referendum, please, for the immigration. And just continuing those policies in the work for advocacy.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else care to answer this question? Sky.
Yeah, I agree. I think that continuing a lot of the things we've been doing is a good idea. I also think that further collaboration with the Immigrant Services Program would be amazing, and extreme collaboration with the Undocumented Student Network on campus. Really listening into, MSU Denver loves to use the word stakeholding this issue with the people that are directly affected. I think there's a natural fight that happens between a racist federal government and then people who are directly affected by that on our campus. And I think that joining that fight, continuing that fight on behalf of the students as the university is the way that I will do that.
Thank you, Sky. Anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, Rowan.
Sorry, just needed a second to put my thoughts together. So as a SACAB representative, I would really look forward to bringing the networking, the community networking that I have done, and representing those voices also to the boards of our universities to also, and working with Immigrant Services Program to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to protect our immigrant and undocumented students.
Thank you, Rowan. Anyone else care to answer this question? Steffi.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with everything that everybody has said, and I would like to add on that as a Hispanic serving institution, I think the biggest thing would be just to talk about it and to not pretend that it's not happening. I think that's the biggest one, and just make space for students to just talk and share their worries with student government and just with each other.
right, thank you guys. Anyone else care to answer this question before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you guys for your responses. So this next segment is going to be a little different. As many of you know, our student government is layered in kind of 3 different layers baked into it. So can I get a quick raise of hands? Who is running for SACAB and trustee? Both, yes, both. So just for the viewers at home, SACAB is more of the tri-institutional AHEC student government kind of council, and then trustee serves on the board of representatives for the university. So these questions are for you 3 specifically, all right? So let's get going. So how are you especially qualified for this advanced role? Patrick.
I feel like this year I took a lot of initiative of learning of what I can do about TSAC. I mean, there's only so much, coming in. But I've served in a lot of the boards and witnessing of the different changes that are going on, how the university treats it. The ideas I'm coming up with and the committees that I'm a part of is contributing to that knowledge that I have. So what qualifies me is the knowledge of the university, the procedures that's going on right now, and the way to function within TSAC and promote it for the student advocacy.
Thank you, Patrick. Would you like to respond?
So I have a lot of experience both working across organizations as well as within them. So I think that SACAP would be a perfect place to sort of use those skills in service of the community. To be honest, running for any sort of student government role is something that I never really saw myself doing, but as has been said before, I think a lot of people are afraid in that, and that really makes me want to do something. So I just really think that SACAP would be a place where I could use my skills as an organizer in service.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with SACAB, I think I'm a excellent communicator. I think I have skills that go beyond just, writing emails and connecting with people. I think I can really connect on a more personal level. And I think with SACAB, we're in a unique position where our campus is, tri-institutional. We have 3 different bodies on this campus plus AHEC, and I think that communication is really key to utilize that. So.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, candidates. The next question is a SACAB trustee question as well, last one of the series. Very similar. Why do you want to run for this advanced position? So, Patrick, we'll start with you.
So this year I'm running for student trustee, for one, to amplify student voices, advocate for accessible and affordable education, and ensure the diverse perspectives of our community are represented at the highest level. I've already had experience having a company in CMS, Carpentry LLC, and I had to work with a lot of different individuals at higher levels, how to explain, to communicate from our side to their side, to effectively coordinate things, and that way we can have effective communication. Communication is everything. Just being able to talk to everybody is key.
Thank you, Patrick. You guys care to respond?
Basically, I'm running for SACAB because I think of myself as a very good listener and as someone who's willing to put myself aside and do what the community wants me to do. That's the most important thing here, right? We're here to represent the students. So I'm here because I always do my best to understand where people are coming from and to represent their interests.
Thank you, Sai.
I agree with that, and I'm again go back to the unique position where we have 3 institutions, and that is why this position is here. And I believe that if all 3 institutions can get somewhat on the same page, or closer to the same page than what has happened, I think that more things can get done to impact all student bodies from all 3 institutions.
Thank you, Sai. So we have one more question that I'm going to ask you guys that I highly recommend you all answer, and then we're going to take some audience questions. So here's the final question here. What are the key points of your platform that you would like the audience / the student body to know? Matthew, you have the floor.
So on top of the more day-to-day recurring kind of things that we have to do as TSAC counselors, I want to work on projects such as working with justice-impacted students, so those who have been involved on either side of like the criminal justice system. I also want to advocate for more trauma-informed care in our Title IX departments. Work on fee transparency, because we have fees that get us free mental health care at the health center that nobody knows about, and also with food access.
Thank you, Matthew. Who's next? So I saw your hand.
Cool. Yeah. So my platform is kind of threefold. I want collaboration, not only amongst the counselors, but also institutional and through the 3 institutions that we house on this campus. I also want transparency. I want people to know what TSAC is, what TSAC does, what TSAC represents, and I also want people to know sort of who the counselors are on a more personal level. You know, not just, oh, you hold this counselor title. I want them to know what we stand for, what we support, and then also transparency.
Thank you, Sai. Rowan?
So I want to expand protections for trans, queer, undocumented, and immigrant students. I want to increase funding for Rowdy's Corner. I want parking to be less expensive because we're a commuter and working class campus, and parking is just way too expensive, and that I think impacts all of us, frankly. And I want to, wow, I just completely lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Yes, expanded food access, better protections for trans, queer, undocumented, and immigrant students.
Thank you, Rowan. Will?
I'd like to refocus on OERs this year, open education resources. I know this last year it kind of fell on the back burner, but I would like to bring it up this year. I would also like to focus on safety issues regarding our different groups on campus, undocumented students, and then make our office more welcoming this year.
Thank you, Will. Patrick?
Mine be like continuing establishing direct line of communication between TSAC and the clubs and the orgs and the student body. Continuing improving the promotion of TSAC itself within the PR committee and all the things, all vehicles to that. And ensuring the diverse perspective of our community that's represented at the highest level. And lastly, I am to being a strong, confident voice of the student body. You know, just be able to also to leave a legacy, not just for me, but to help future councils further on in their journey.
Thank you, Patrick. To Irvi, then Susanna.
I would say that my platform focuses on student voices and helping everyone succeed. I want to expand awareness about scholarships and events which introduce technical festivals and a resource dashboard supporting mentorship and career growth. I also deeply care about inclusivity and diversity, creating a campus where everyone feels seen, heard, and supported. I'm here to represent you and make sure every student here has a value and and their voices truly matter.
Thank you, Irvi. Susanna?
I think my main point is student engagement. It's just how students could be involved with TSAC. If it's not with TSAC, it could be with other student organization, because I think that is the best way to take initiative in how to become a leader and how to change. And professional development, because in TSAC, this is where students can learn how to develop professionalism. And in small committees like this semester, I've worked with the menstrual products, with the health center, and putting free menstrual products in 3 different buildings, and small things helps my bed.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else care to answer this question? Sky?
Yeah, so I'm an organizer, not a politician. I'm here just to advocate on the needs of students. I think the first needs that starts with is basic needs, like food, housing, menstrual products, things like that, and safety. I think that ties directly into the advocacy, countering the federal government's policies, because that's directly impacting the safety of many of our students here, and then further up into higher level needs that our students may have.
Brilliant. Steffi?
Thank you. As a new counselor, I think I am very excited to bring new perspective, experiences, and knowledge to TSAC, and also excited to collaborate and hear everybody's experience and perspectives as well. I would like to focus on engagement and just having students known resources that are available for them, specifically with the Health Institute, pre-med, pre-health students.
Thank you. Anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right, exciting. Well, that's all the questions I have for you all today. We're going to turn to our vibrant audience. Is there anyone here who would like to? Danny Palacios, please, what is your question?
Hi, everyone. First, thank you so much for taking the time to be a voice for our student body. As you know, we have a dire need for representation, and there's so much work to be done. I love that every single one of you is fired up and wants to get started with the job. I do have a question on how, for whomever, how do you plan to balance your diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives without making our campus a target to the federal administration?
Thank you, Danny, for your question. We're going to start with Sky first.
Oh, this is the question. How do you put up a shield without making it a target? So the federal government is doing horrendous things to people all across the nation, including our students. I think that I want to see our university refuse to cooperate with the federal government on these issues, and I want to see shields be put up. And there's a time for speaking out about it, and there's a time for not speaking out about it. And I think that balancing that and voicing what the students need to administration as they make those decisions is going to be a very important role.
Quick clarification, Sam and I decided, because it's the audience questions, these are the people of the university, you guys get a minute to answer them. So, Patrick, you're up next.
I'll just start with just a quote. El pueblo unido nunca será vencido, which is a united people will never be defeated. So if we were going to get started to get a task, we first have to be united here at MSU. I want to start collaborating more with all orgs. I feel like we're all over the place. There are many organizations, many clubs, but there's not one united voice, and that's what student government is about. We're going to be the people talking for everybody. So we first have to make sure that we're all good, make sure that universities together, we have a common voice, and we can stand our ground together. And just evolving, just preparing for things that we have. I think that's something that we're continuing to do. I think the referendum that we have, the policies that we're doing, the statements we're providing, I think that's continuing the voice that we are supporting our diverse student population here at university. For me, I just want to first make sure that we're all together, we're all unified, and we can stand together to fight.
Thank you, Patrick. Does anyone else care to answer Danny's question? Rowan?
That's a really, really good question. And I think that that's why it would be so important to see our universities not cooperating with the federal government and actively taking steps to protect their students, faculty, and staff from these attacks by the Trump administration. Because how can we foster trust in our community if the people that we want to come forward with their concerns about this issue are worried that they would be turned over or somehow exposed or given that focus of attention when they don't want that, and when that could expose them to danger. So I think that putting those protections in place for our community is one of the most important steps in doing this work.
Thank you, Rowan. Anyone else care to answer Danny's question? Susanna.
I think the most important thing is not to create fear within these students, because I feel like creating fear scatter us everywhere, and us scattered doesn't help us to reunite together to work on something against these terrible policies that's happening against these students. and working with the organization that we have here on campus and encouraging them that they do have voices and encouraging them to use the resources that we are trying to provide for them is important. And I think that is the first step that we had to do as a TSAC.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else care to answer Denny's question? Going once, going twice. Oh, Sai. Sai and yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the term Sky used, shields. I think that if you can change a name, but not change the work that you're doing, you know, you're sort of placing a shield over whatever you're doing, right? And I think our campus is unique because we are HSI. You know, we're a Hispanic serving institution. We have a significant population of black students, immigrant students, and I think that if we continue to serve those students, our campus will continue to thrive. So I believe that we should not, you know, bow down to the federal government, and we should stand on our ground and keep doing what we're doing, even if we have to change names. Because even a name is a name, you know, a name is just a name. So.
Thank you, Sai. Sam? All right, Sky, you have 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think that it's important to listen to the students directly affected when it comes to deciding what we want to do. Sometimes when you're battling a racist federal administration, you need to speak out, even if it is creating a target on yourself, because that's what your students may want to hear.
All right, thank you, Scott. Anyone else before we move on to some more audience questions? Going once, going twice. All right. Our audience has grown since last time I asked this question. But audience, do you guys have any questions you would like to ask your future student government?
Okay. So it's all nice to see you guys all here. I wanted to know what actions would you take if you were faced with a situation in which campus policies or even your own policies end up causing harm to students?
You guys, anyone care to answer this question starting off? Sky, you're up first.
Yeah, I think the first thing you do is start a line of communication with administration who sets those policies, or helps you defend against those policies that are set by the state or federal government. I think that starting a line of communication is the first step. I think that depending on how egregious the policy may be, that very well could escalate into much more than just a conversation.
Thank you, Sky. We'll do Patrick next.
Similar to my last response, is having a unified student body. So they may have regulations that we may disagree with, but there already are procedures in place to deal with those certain situations. We already have things that we can implement to advocate for our perspective in the student bodies. If it's something that directly opposes what we all believe in as student council, I'm pretty sure it'd be something that we can easily deal with, something that we could oppose, because just matter of having a common sense, a common ground, and an agreement between all of us here, which is for the student body, will help us defend our rights and our values that we held within the institution. MSU itself has already been like a diverse institution, standing their ground against things. I don't believe it'll happen, but I'm pretty sure we will be ready to defend ourselves and our fellow classmates.
Thank you, Patrick. I saw Will, and then I'll go Steffi.
I just want to clarify the question. It's if we enact harmful policies, correct? Right. Okay. So first, I will speak for myself. If I would locate the different affected groups by the policy, listen to what they have to say, and then formally apologize. I don't think anyone here's above apologizing for, making mistakes, and willing to learn is the other important part about enacting harmful policies, making sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Steffi, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I think number one, like Will said, would be accountability. As part of TSAC, I think the mission is to do what's best for MSU, and mistakes will happen and misunderstandings will happen. And as a new counselor, I have a lot to learn, and I may make mistakes, speaking for myself. So I think accountability and just learning from the policy that may have been harmful to populations.
Thank you, Matthew.
Personally, I would rely more on like restorative justice principles. So, including those who are harmed by said policy to the table, hear their views, and not just advocate for potentially a new solution to take away that harm, but also work with said group to actually figure out how to repair the harm, even outside and beyond changing a policy.
Thank you, Matthew. Anyone else care to respond? Rowan, and then we'll do Susanna next.
I think that as student government, keyword being students, we're here to learn, and like we're not always going to be perfect, but if we enact a policy that has an effect that wasn't what we were going for and ends up doing harm, it's important to be receptive to that feedback, to look at what went into that policy and change how we craft future policies based on that, to ensure that we're not making the same mistake twice. Because I think that it's okay to learn from a mistake, and you're more defined by how you respond to it and what you do to fix it than you are by the initial mistake itself.
I believe it was Susanna next.
I think that's a very difficult question because harm comes in both sides no matter what happens. One side is always going to get hurt than the other side, and I feel like the best way that we could do is just to like communicate in both ways and how we could both compromise, even though compromise is also difficult too because we might not like one decision or another decision, but we just have to think what is best for the students in a whole instead of a sided group.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else? Sai?
Yeah, I agree with the fellow candidates. It's first you need to establish communication. Who and why were people harmed by this policy? Then you need to take accountability. You need to understand where you went wrong and how you can correct it. And then the next part is correcting it, learning from the mistake. I like what I believe it was Rowan who said that if you make a mistake, the harder part is, it's worse if you don't learn from it, and if you learn from it and change it, then the mistake has not been corrected, but you have done something, to further everything.
All right, anyone else care to answer? All right, going once, going twice. All right, we have room for 3 more audience questions. So does anyone else in this room care to ask a question of our candidates? I see Danny. Danny has another question. Danny, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This question is particularly directed to candidate William Coates. I see in your platform you are committing to reducing the cost of class. You have also mentioned that you're familiar with the bureaucracy, not only of TSAC, of the university. How realistic do you think this is, and what is your strategy to fulfill this?
Thank you, Jenny. I will give Will a second to respond. Are you good? All right, all yours.
So thank you for the question. Implementing OERs into the classroom will actually be a multi-year process. That's not just going to be realistically handled within my term or maybe the next 2-3 terms. There's so many classrooms out there that don't employ OERs, unfortunately, and every university is different. I'm sure every university has reasons as to maybe why they don't employ OERs. But establishing that task force that already exists and working alongside them is vital to bridging that gap with those universities. And that work has already been done. It's being done right now as we're speaking. Levi Chi, a counselor that was here, that's currently still here, was working on that. And I plan on taking the baton from him and working this next upcoming year on OERs and trying to further close that gap, if that makes sense.
Open Educational Resources, what ODR stands for. So yes, I know that the question was directed to Will, but I want to open up to the rest of the candidates having a comment on that. Sky and then Patrick.
Yeah, I think the tuition price is not the only thing that goes into the cost of your education here. I think that, especially with the housing projects that are coming to MSU Denver, one of the things I will hopefully succeed in advocating best for the students is making sure that price is reasonable and making sure that price is cheaper for our students. Also, not just the actual price of school, but also how are you paying for it? If you're paying for it with grants, how can we increase the number of grants people are getting? How can we increase knowledge about how to best apply for those, how to apply for scholarships, things like that to decrease the cost that the actual student has to bear to go to school here.
Thank you, Sky. We'll do Patrick next.
Yeah, just going back to what Will was saying, Levi Chia, another counselor here, he started the OER. So the initiative for there to be an inexpensive way for students to acquire like student book textbooks is already being developed, and it's something that's not supported not just by us, but by the faculty as well. From this year that we've been working on, we had an event not too long ago with OER promoting that, and I intend to continue that. Myself attending 2 courses that are OER is better, because I'm paying out of pocket. And a lot of times I can't afford for those big textbooks, like $300 textbooks. So just finding a better way. And as Will said, it's going to be a multi-year thing. So just developing that this project doesn't end with me. This project doesn't end with Levi. This project doesn't end with Will. It's going to end for when we get what we need for the student body.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else care to answer? Susanna, you're up next.
I think I'm very fortunate to actually have resources that are not paid out of the side of my pocket, because what I've seen with the modern language department, they have worked extremely hard, especially for Spanish minors or Spanish major, to have students to have accesses to the resources without paying. And it's just by encouraging the college departments or any departments why is OER important for students, and just encouraging them to change the lesson plan just a bit, just to encourage more students not to pay out of pocket if it's not going to the grant or etc. And starting with a small department like the modern language department is a great start, and continuing from that.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else care to answer that question? Going once, going twice. All right. We have room for 2 more questions from the audience. Does anyone here have a question for our candidates? I'm going to let Victor do a question. It's all right. Victor, the floor is yours.
Hello. So, in terms of, there's going to be, I see 9 here, but it said there's going to be 12, correct? So 14,000 students divided by 12, it's about 1,200 to 1,300 students about that you guys are each representing. How do you guys plan on trying to represent all of those students as much as possible? Of course, you can't reach all 1,200, 1,300 students, but what are you guys doing, taking steps towards trying to listen to all of the voices you guys represent?
Thank you, Victor. Patrick, I saw your hand first. We'll start with you.
The clear thing that Victor says that it's 14,000 students, 12 of us. So it's rather than focus on one group within the university, it's about think about all the other groups. Yes, this may benefit me, but how does it benefit you? How does it benefit us? How does it benefit my neighbor? How does it benefit my classmate, my professor? So being able to be non-biased, be open-minded, be an active listener within the community helps me establish that. Establishing more connection between student government and the student body, whether that be with the orgs, whether that be with the clubs, whether that be hosting promoting more of our public comment that we have within our weekly student council. Just being able to allow the students to voice their issues, their concerns, and be able to represent that in the higher levels of our university.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else care to answer this question? So I will silence Sky.
To answer your question, Victor, I would personally start with the different offices on the campus. You know, the Phoenix Center, LGBTQ+, GITA, Veterans Resource Center, to name a few, and talk to the students in there, see what they need. That'd be just the first step. The next step would be to work with PR for more public outreach, more events, more tabling, constant tabling. Actually, me and Matt passed a resolution about tabling every month and trying to bring that back next year and trying to get that outreach to as many students as possible.
That's a good question. I think that I said earlier in this town hall discussion that we all represent different communities, and I believe that we all belong to a community here on campus. So to outreach those students, I think the easiest method would be to, go to your community first. Go to whatever community you belong to, because we all, and yes, some of us might represent the same community, and yes, some of us, might represent totally different communities that might not be on campus, but we all have communities here on this campus. So I think the easiest way to outreach to those students, it was 14,000, I think would be to, start with who you know. Start with who's comfortable with you and who you're comfortable with. And then you can go beyond that. So.
Thank you, Sai. Now we have Sky.
I want to really focus on the perspective of the question. I don't feel that I represent 1,300 students on the campus. I feel I represent every single student on this campus. I don't think we each have to represent 1/12 of the campus. We all represent 100% of the campus. I think that, and also if I don't have 1,200 interactions with students throughout the year, I don't think I did my job. So I absolutely think it's possible to interact with 1,200 students at least during the course of the year. I think that going to the institutions that represent students very effectively, like GITA, like LGBTQ Resource Center, like the Veteran Services Center, like the CMEI, people that interact with the students a lot is very important. I think that asking faculty, because faculty each not represent, but faculty interact with plenty of students. A lot of the faculty that I already speak to now tell me about some of the concerns their students bring to them, and I think that listening to all of those things, as well as just increasing outreach, is the way to do that.
Thank you, Sky. Anyone else care to answer this question? Susanna, you'll be next.
I think that is also a very difficult task, but I also don't disagree with Sky. I think it is possible to reach all of those 12,000 students, but it's also for us as a council, we also have to take criticism in how we could outreach those students. I think one great example I had is when I went to the University of Tulane and I heavily communicated with the communication chair and how they communicated with those students, even though they're a small private university. And the way that she was able to explain the transition, the way that she had like a calendar and everything outlined it, and it's just the way how we could like take those initiatives and put it into us to start reaching out to students. And I think that encouraged me the most to like reach out to students.
Thank you, Susanna. Anyone else care to answer this question? Going once, going twice. All right, we have room for one more audience question. How exciting. Does anyone from the audience care to ask another question? I think someone does. Denny, you have another question for the counselors.
You know I'm all up for this. This one specifically for like their SACAP candidates. So 3 different campuses, very different needs. What do you have an initiative that you believe is immediate within campus? And because there are very different needs across the 3 different institutions, how do you plan to stay on track? How do you plan to keep everybody focused?
Excellent question from Denny about SACAB. Anyone here care to respond? For the viewers at home, what is one specific SACAP issue that you think needs to be tackled? Lots of hands first. I start Patrick first, and then I'll go to whoever raises their hand next.
Well, within SACAB right now, I think it's much more evaluating what can we actually do, what are we supposed to do, and how can we do it. I think that's something that we're already working right now. That's something that Sai and Rowan are gonna find out as well. But I think collaborating with the other two institutions goes beyond SACAB. As of right now, we're already establishing a cross-culture event between all three institutions, and that's outside of SACAB. So just between the communication, because our representatives are representatives of the student body from the council, and that council communicates with SACAB. So ultimately, it's just not just the work that we do inside SACAB, but the work that we do outside. And how can we make the effort and the time and the sweat and the tears, how can we actually have that be implemented and come to reality in SACAB?
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else care to say something about SACAB? I think we'll do Sky next.
Yeah, I think the reason I think it's important to answer this, I'm not running for SACAB, I'm not eligible, but the reason I think it's important to answer it is that we will collaborate outside of SACAB. Additionally, SACAB is the committee of students that represents the student voice to ABOD. ABOD, I think, is one of the more powerful institutions on the campus when it comes to our day-to-day. So they at the end of the day, they govern, some of the buildings that get built on campus. They govern parking. They govern things like that. They govern some of the immigration related issues. I was there when the immigration policy was passed by ABOD. I spoke at public comment representing solely myself as just a student of MSU Denver and voiced the concerns that I have with it. I would love to see changes made with that. I would love to see our SACAB representatives push some of those changes to make our immigration policy here better, because AHEX has unique ground compared to the individual institutions when it comes to non-cooperation with ICE.
Thank you, Sky. Who's next on this issue? Susanna, you're next.
I'm not running for SACAB, but this experience that I have learned this academic year is honestly just working with the other two institutions. We had CCD and CU Denver. We met once a month to talk about menstrual products and how we could bring those in campus. Even though it's something small, I feel like as a person, menstrual products is a necessity and not a need. And menstrual products are really expensive. They're super expensive. And the way that we were able to find grants and the way that we were able to install 3, what is it called? Dispensary, thank you. 3 dispensary in 3 different in the 3 different buildings is one step in working together as an institution. It's just finding one tiny problem and how we could make it together as a team.
Thank you, Susie. I'll do Matt, then I'll make my way over there.
So I actually was on SACAB this year, and some of the issues, I guess biggest issue I see that needs to be done is holding Auraria campus side of SACAB accountable. Because they've been out of compliance with sunshine laws. They've wafted on enforcing policies of removing, myself included, from SACAB because I didn't have enough credits to qualify according to the law. So they're kind of picking on choosing what to do. And I just think that they could do a lot better job of helping us advocate for the students.
Thank you, Matthew. We'll do Irvi, then Will.
I'm not running for SACAB, but I would like to answer this question because recently I came across that we are working on the RTD passes because students do need RTD passes. And for CU Denver and CCD, they also need transportation as we Metro students do need. How much? So it is really good that we are collaborating and engaging with them because we as students we are not thinking about MSU Denver. We are thinking for them and to collaborate and engage with them with diversity and inclusivity. So I would say that it is a collaboration and connectivity which doesn't make students feel disconnected that they are losing on something or they're not getting involved on campus. It is three colleges together. So we have to put all these together to make more of what is to be done together. Yeah.
Thank you, William. You're up next.
In a perfect world, Denny, we would work on the immigration policies that their SACAP's trying to push to protect the vulnerable student populations across campus and the RTD pass. I think those are two great initiatives to follow. The issue as being an interim SACAP right now and interim SACAP last year is what Matt pointed out is that our area doesn't always follow their own bylaws, and that complicates things for the different student governments and advocacy. So I would think that would take priority right now. That way we don't have to focus on like what we can't do and what we can't do within SACAP. It's just establishing clearer bylaws that actually help push for advocacy.
Well, for a lot of issues, they don't just impact one campus; they impact all three because we're three different schools sharing a campus here, and because SACAB works with ABOD, I think that's a really important place to put pressure on them to protect their immigrant students because, I think Sky said, they're uniquely well positioned to make and enforce policies to protect the immigrant community here.
Thank you, Rowan. Anyone else care to answer the last question of this town hall? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, before I pass it off to Sam to give the final word, I want to give a big thank you to the candidates here for coming out and facing the questions of MSU Denver. Give them a quick round of applause. All right. So thank you so much to the audience. Thank you much for Sam for putting this debate on. Give him a round of applause as well. We love Sam. And I really want to thank all you for showing up with your questions and your excitement. April 18th is elections. You have from then to vote. Make sure your voice is heard. These are going to be your counselors for next year, guys. So I'm going to pass off to Sam for the last word.
Yeah, I want to reflect all the thanks that Mike just gave out. I also am happy everyone showed up, and it's been a really great town hall, great audience questions, great answers from our candidates. Like Mike said, we have from right now until April 18th to vote. You can put that vote in online on Roadrunner link. You're going to have a notification on Canvas. You can go to the MSU Denver elections website to get the link for that. We also have in-person ballots. We're going to be in the Multicultural Lounge and outside by Starbucks now until the 18th. We're going to have a couple cool events coming up. We're going to have a drag show next week for celebrating our voting, so keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I think that covers everything. Great town hall, everybody, and let's close it out.